rocky place or you visit there occasionally, it's always good to have some off-roader, right? People like to talk about what the dream garage is, right? A sports car, a regular everyday car, and an off-roader. A very simple setup. Now, I happen to visit Oregon a lot, and they have a lot of these roads. Unmarked, unnamed dirt roads going God knows where, and every single time I visit Oregon, my Prius cries. So let's say you need a used off-roader, right? People are saying enough with the crossovers. I don't want some small little piece of crap little SUV. I want something that can actually be good for off-roading. So I've got 5 instances here, 5 used cars that I think you should buy if you need to travel on these dirt, rocky moor roads, right? The first one is the first generation Honda Pilot. A lot of people look at this and they scoff it off as a mom vehicle, but actually these are some of the most durable off-roaders ever. Of course, you have the 4-wheel drive, which is awesome for off-roading. That interior, it may look rough and dirty, but it will last forever. The entire car is just super rugged all around, and the first generation had a lot of, non-problems with it. That was a very weird of saying that. A lot of not problems. It didn't have a lot of problems. It was overall a very durable vehicle, durable interior. You also had, nice features like heated seats. You can see exactly why this car would be great for off-roading. Great approach, great in decline angles, and also there are kind of 2 types of off-roaders. You have the FJ Cruiser off-roader, which is super high in the air with great approach and decline angles for off-roading. These are more dirt road off-roading, right? The interiors can be super luxurious or super bare bones. They're very nice vehicles, and remember, I see these in Oregon all the time. Why? Because they're so cheap and nice. This is a 2007 Honda Pilot EXL, and it's for $7,000. Now, that seems, not a great price, but this is a 2007 4-wheel drive vehicle that has the capability of a lot. It also has a 3rd row, so it's great for families. These are some of the best off-roaders you can buy for money. These are great. They come in a lot of colors if you're into customization. But what the most important thing is, they're just great off-road. They're just amazing. They're durable vehicles by Honda. And, just because they're not, a truck converted into an SUV doesn't mean that it's not a good off-roader. These are some of the, again, like I said, I see them in Oregon all the time. People love these. So if you're definitely looking to buy a used family off-roader, this one would be great, right? You can have the Corolla Hybrid as the everyday vehicle, but if you live in somewhere more rural, these first generation Honda Pilots will get you wherever you need to go. The next car on this list is the Volvo XC90. Volvo doesn't have a lot of off-road SUVs. The XC60 is kind of an on-road SUV. They have a lot of off-road wagons, but they've never really, had a lot of off-road SUVs like Toyota or Subaru has. And yet people aren't mad simply because this thing exists. This is almost Land Cruiser level of greatness. It has a split tailgate, V8, perfect. They're great for off-roading. Their 4-wheel drive systems last forever. The interior is durable yet luxurious, and these never give up. These have been extremely reliable for the people that have had them, and I've heard that they're just absolutely amazing vehicles. I have never had the pleasure of driving one, but I'm going off of what I have heard. These supposedly are some of the best off-roaders you can ever get. 3.2 liter V8, just amazing. You have your headlight controls over there. It's a Volvo. They can be really reliable when they want to, or they can be really shit when they want to. This is a very good, nice, reliable one. These are just so great. Again, this is another V8 one, just so amazing. Split rear tailgate, which means you can be covered from the rain and still sit on something comfortable, unlike, most tailgates, which only fold one way. The interior is just well thought out. It may not have a driver information display or 10,000 screens staring at you, but once you actually, drive the vehicle, the ergonomics are amazing. This is just one of the best cars of all times. It does have a 3rd row, and just how much storage you get in the back. Now, this is all-wheel drive, not 4-wheel drive, but remember, all-wheel drive is just better for roads. 4-wheel drive is better for climbing rocks. Each of these cars has their own different areas where they're great, and sometimes worse than other vehicles. I would say this is the vehicle that covers the most amount of grounds, right? These are good, but the bad thing is, because they're so great, they hold their value. This is a 2008 for $8,500. Great price. Remember, these prices may seem high, right? You can scoff at that. It's in a 2008 vehicle. That's a while ago, right? You have a reason to be, how should I say this, skeptical. It's a 16-year-old car, right? it always deserves some skepticism when you're buying this. But keep in mind, if you were to spend this $8,000 on a 2015 used Corolla, this car will last long. Well, not a Corolla, in like a Hyundai or something, just throwing your money away. This thing will last longer than that. And oftentimes these newer cars, these older cars, are holding their value so well because they're worth something. A modern day crossover, the transmission's gonna blow out, your Rogue is gonna be pulled off the side of the road, then it's gonna get junked, and the plastic parts are just gonna flow into the ocean, right? That's just how it works. These cars never give up and they never die, which is why they're so expensive. So this may seem expensive for an older car, but if you were to buy a brand new Nissan Rogue for off-roading, it would break almost immediately. The CVT wouldn't be able to take that kind of abuse, right? And I love the CVT, you love the CVT. It's not meant for off-roading or anything really intensive or durable. These vehicles are just amazing and you get so much value out of them. The next one is the Lexus GX. This is probably the nicest off-roader, and my favorite thing about it is it's like you're in a terrarium. So first of all, right, no rust on this one. You have this wonderful, like these Lexus leather interiors, man, you can just soak in them. And they have an amazing rear seat with tons and tons of storage space. This is my favorite part about it. Like I said, gigantic, big, huge windows. In your crossovers today, the door is like 2 feet, and then you have the tiny little inch of a window, and they just look so weird and foreign. This, look at that. When you're off-roading, you can see everything. A leather dashboard, not some plastic imitation cracked piece of crap. No. Leather. You have an actual shifter for your 4-wheel drive system. Leather seats, wood. This is the nicest car on this list. These hold their value insanely well. As we can clearly see via the price of $12,000. But for $12,000, remember, this is still worth a whole lot. The leather is supple. Everything is perfect about this car. And also, a lot of these off-roaders, you usually buy them just, to make it there, right? This can be your daily driver. It'll guzzle gas, sure, but keep in mind, this is so nice, you'll never want to leave it, right? The leather is all nice, black and shiny. A lot of leathers, the imitation leather gets gray with, like, the dust from your hands. It's just disgusting. These stay black and squeaky forever, right? They're just so amazing. They're just great vehicles, right? Lexus really over-engineered this. Of course, it has the V8. They're not great on gas, but they're amazing in every other respect. Some of the best cars you can ever buy. Again, the GXs are just so reliable. These are mini Land Cruisers. Not so many, right? These are just amazing vehicles. A lot of people overlook the GX. Now, you're not going to see a Land Cruiser or an LX on here just because they're too expensive, right? I want to keep it, in the good range. No $50,000 2008 vehicle. I would say the Land Cruiser and LX, best car ever made, in my opinion. Yes, 100% worth it. But I'm trying to tone it down a little bit, just for this video, to make it more reasonable, right? For prices that people would actually pay. These are just great vehicles. Like I said, they're just so weird in the way that they operate, and yet they operate so perfectly. They never get old to me. These vehicles, they're wonderful to drive. They always look great. The next car on this list is, of course, the 4Runner. So why would I choose this generation of 4Runner? You're looking at me and you go, Quokka, this doesn't make sense. Why wouldn't you choose the 2010 generation, right? Because that's one still being made. I know this is petty, and I know it doesn't matter, and I know that this is the part of car journalism that I've always hated, but the car is hideous. I'm sorry. I really hate the new Highland. The new 4Runner. The 2010 version looked spaced out on cereal and moo juice. The current one looks better, but they were just so ugly. And the 2010 ones had so much technology in them that they started getting unreliable just because, 4Runners will always be some of the most durable vehicles ever. And I'm not saying that they're not. I'm just saying I didn't prefer the styling. And I prefer the older, more, nose to the grindstone vehicle. This is that car. This is the 2007. It got refreshed in 2009. 4-wheel drive system. That gold paint is just so brilliantly perfect on these vehicles. You can see the interior is a little bit more bare bones, but you still get some nice touches. Like, it's not like you're camping in your own car, right? It's a very, very, very nice vehicle. Hell, you even get dual zone climate control and a radio, which is nice. Do you get dual zone climate control? No, you don't. Oh, no, wait. So they make everything... That's the outside temperature, that's the inside temperature, that's the... Okay. I've driven one of these before, but remember, I have Prii, and they are some of the weirdest cars on the planet, and you get used to that weirdness. So normal everyday cars, these vehicles are so nice, right? They worked perfectly. They never give up. They are expensive, but remember, that's justified. This one, it's just so perfect, just so great. Remember, this one does not have a third row. Forerunners do not have a third row. Why? Because they're an SUV. They're not like the Mitsubishi Outlander, where you're trying to cram a family into a more, looks like a bigger SUV thing. This isn't a proper big SUV, and it ain't for families, right? Families can use it, but that doesn't mean, like, when Toyota was cooking this, putting all the ingredients in the witch's pot, they were thinking for families here, right? This is true off-roading. The engine, super durable, super reliable. A lot of people have said this before. Germans cover up their engines because you don't want to look at the engineering. Toyota and Lexus cover up their engines because you're never going to have to see them, right? They run. That's all they do. This is a cheaper one. The other one was a limited. Yeah, the other one was a limited. This is an SR5. These white ones, I will say they do look a little bit bubbly. That's never bothered me. As long as you get me up the hill, that's fine. I couldn't care less. Unless you're a modern generation Highlander. Just overall great cars. I've always loved the way that these have looked. And the interior is just so modern and nice without looking, old and decrepit. Like, it's from a year where the interiors were still reliable, but they were also modern enough. This one has a lot of surface rust. That's to be expected. A lot of surface rust. There's nothing too bad. I mean, this is bad, but it's not like rusted through or anything. Just a lot of surface rust here. Again, the interior, it's just great. These are just overall very amazing vehicles. And the last car on this list is one that people have underrated. The past 4 cars are all big, right? We have to admit it, they're big. The Honda Pilot is a gigantic people mover, right? It's a gigantic car. The Volvo XC90 has a huge honkin' V8, which gets awful gas mileage. The Lexus GX is almost perfect in every way, but you have to remember it is big and expensive, right? And, the 4Runner, also a very big vehicle. So the last car on this list, I wanted to choose something smaller. Now, why would you want something smaller, period? Well, a lot of these roads are really, really narrow. Big SUVs, they have everything. They're really great for off-roading a lot of the times, but that 1% of times, so you just need to squeeze through, trees are overgrown, haven't mowed stuff in a while. You don't want a gigantic, big, honking car going down there. People just like light. That's why we see people using, RAV4s instead of 4Runners, just because they're lighter on their feet to drive, every day. They're better daily driver vehicles. They hog less gas. And when driving, if you're driving on the roads, if they're really narrow, they're better for cornering and they're better for stuff like that. They're better for maneuverability. But the issue with the Toyota RAV4 is it's always been a crossover. Some SUVs out there were SUVs and then they got crossoverified, like the 4Runner. The RAV4 in its conception in 1997 was a crossover. It was a small, little, sloped-back SUV, and there's nothing wrong with that. It just wasn't really intended for off-roading. So this is the one time where I will pick a Honda over a Toyota. This car is so fond of my memory. I actually grew up in one of these. They are just so perfect and so beautiful. These wheels, they were only for 2006, on the topper trim levels. These are great. Let me just tell you why you might want something like this. First of all, the all-wheel drive system. Does this one have all-wheel drive? It should. It 100% should. For four-wheel drive, it has four-wheel drive, not all-wheel drive. Jeez. Yeah, these are proper off-roaders. Why? Because remember, 4Runners, they're big and honky. These are tiny little light. They're, just nice and light on their feet. And they're great for going down narrow paths, narrow trails, especially in Oregon. Oregon is so interesting. In bigger cities, the streets are narrow because there's buildings there. In Oregon, they're just narrow because, it doesn't matter. No one's going to care, right? These cars are just so amazing. That's especially why my family bought one, just because they're great, right? They're great for off-roading a lot of the times, and they're great for fitting into narrow little driveways, right? Which is what you need to do if it's a family vehicle. These are just great. The interiors are reliable. Everything's reliable. It's nice to sit in. It's nice to be in. Honda will always be up there with me. The plastic bumper, it's not like, SUVs today have plastic bumpers so that you think that they're durable. This car doesn't have to prove a damn thing to you. It has a plastic bumper not because it wants you to think that it's durable, or has cladding because it wants you to think that it's durable, and so that when you're bumping another car out of the mud, you don't scratch the paint on your bumper. It's more functional than good looking, and that's 100% fine with me. These vehicles are so great, not to mention the Volvo style rear lights. Great vehicles. I've always loved these. If you've ever seen one of them on the road, in real life, these cars are I wouldn't say bigger, and I wouldn't say smaller. They look very weirdly proportioned on photos, right? When you see them in real life, they're just so fun, you know? They're just fun. That's what I would describe these. This is a more fun off-roader. These would always be great. So, which one of these vehicles would I buy? The Honda Pilot, not for me. The Pilot's great. I'm sure it's amazing for off-roading. I've heard it's amazing for off-roading. A lot of people in Oregon said they were great for off-roading. But it's not for me. It's not my styling. The Volvo XC90 V8. I'm just not a V8 person. Like, I wanted to stay alive, but, that doesn't mean that I necessarily want to own one. The GX is perfect. It's nice. It's luxury. I know I was yapping about how amazing this thing was later. But, I just don't want something that big. I want something that can actually fit in the driveway, The 4Runner is more of that. But, this is my favorite generation of 4Runner. I know I'm going to get a lot of shit in the comments because everyone likes the 3rd generation and this is the generation. I just like these, okay? Can you just let me have that? So, what I would choose, I would 100% buy one of these right now. Live my childhood. I would probably buy a Honda Element over this. The reason why the Honda Element's not here, the CR-V is more for off-roading. The Element's just for hauling stuff and being durable, right? Those are the two things the Element's good at. This thing's better at off-roading than the Element is, and I figured in an off-roading video, I would do this one. So, with that, thank you for watching. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe, and I will see you guys real soon.